Did you know that a fifth of the Indian farmers are tenant farmers, and as a result, they do not get the benefits of the income support program announced in 2019 called the PM Kisan? Did you know that a recent survey identified irrigation as the single biggest challenge? One in two farmers claimed this was the problem they needed to overcome. Hello and welcome to another edition of Capital Calculus. I am your host Anil Padmanabhan. The just concluded general election was a rude wake-up call to the National Democratic Alliance, especially since a segment of the rural voters turned their back on them. Acknowledging this, the incumbent NDA effected a leadership change in the Ministry of Agriculture. It inducted Shivraj Chauhan, four-time Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. Not only is Chauhan an experienced politician, he is also credited with the dramatic turnaround of agriculture in Madhya Pradesh over the last 20 years. The state has gone from a deficit to a surplus state. In fact, it is now identified as the agrarian bowl of the Indian economy. So the big question is, will the NDA build on this and use the budget to signal a fundamental change that has been long overdue in Indian agriculture? I spoke to Ashok Gulati. He's an agricultural economist and a previous guest on the show, and also the last word on Indian agriculture. The just concluded general election saw an erosion of seats for the Bharatiya Janata Party in rural India. So I began by asking Dr. Gulati whether rural India was sending out a not so subtle message to the BJP.
Well, that's very clear, and that was the title of my article, that there is a rural message loud and clear if they want to hear it. And that is out of 63 seats that they have lost from 303 to 240, they lost 63. Majority of it are those where rural India dominates, right? In fact, one estimate is almost 60 of them out of 63 are the rural segment one. Now, in rural segment overall, you look at how much is their per capita expenditure or per family expenditure, and that is 3,773 rupees per capita per month. You have a family size of 4.4, 4.5, that will make you 16,600 or 17,000 rupees for the whole family for a month. You can add a little saving if at all they have here or there, but safely you can say it's less than 20,000 rupees per family per month. This is the average of entire rural India of India. And agriculture households are even less than this. Okay. Now, of course, there is a variation across states. Punjab could be double of this, and Bihar could be much lower than this. So you can see, because the holding size is very, very different in the two. The cropping patterns are different, the marketing structures are different, and out of farm, what is their income that they are getting, whether they are going to forge, army, or something else, or becoming teachers. So if they don't have, then situation is not a very happy situation. They are not starving to death or extreme distress, but they are not in a very comfortable position. That's the story of rural India. And this year, 23-24 particularly, the we are talking, and we are all very happy and glad that overall Indian economy has registered 8.2% rate of GDP growth. So the entire country and the elite class is talking about that, business people in particular. But how many people are noting that uh, the agriculture growth rate is just 1.4%? Just 1.4%. Now, if that is the increase in the real income of those, and uh, the population is growing still in rural areas faster than in urban areas, then where is the difference that they are making? And this was a drop from last year of 4.7%, so massive drop. In fact, the second advanced estimate was only zero point 0.7. The revised one that has come a few days back is 1.4, but 1.4 is way below the trend line. So 23-24 has not been a good year for agriculture or rural areas in particular. 24-25, we are still waiting for the monsoons. Earlier, we were promised 15 days back, pretty good monsoon, everything fine. But today's news is that even that is delayed, and we don't know yet. And heat wave and the spike there is hurting. Many of the plants, vegetables cannot bear this type of heat wave that is lashing through northern India.
So, a quick follow up question that Indian agriculture has been struggling for almost 2 decades up and down, but has something changed dramatically, particularly say after COVID, that the rural populace is so unhappy?
Uh, Two things. One, I would say it's not struggling for the last 2 decades, but it has been doing reasonably okay. During 10 years of Dr. Manmohan Singh's government, UPA government, the agriculture growth rate was 3.5% average. And that has gone after the revised figure of 23-24 to 3.7% under Modi period, 10 years of Mr. Modi's. So 3.5, 3.7, not much of a difference. The target is always at least 4%, if not more. But there are states which are doing much better, and there are states which are doing much worse. So in certain pockets, there is definitely stress, and certain pockets are doing reasonably okay. So from that angle, I would say India is still a net exporter of agricultural products. You know, so from that angle, it's not that we are not getting anything, but the income of the farmers is a big issue, because after COVID, as you rightly said, in fact, it started off a year before COVID. There was a reverse migration which we were not able to decipher what is causing that, why people are coming back, and the percentage of employment in agriculture, the labor force, that started increasing. It started off in 2019-20, and then of course in COVID 2021 and 21-22 there was big reverse migration. So because of that, uh, after that 2 years, males have gone back, and many family members are still back there, and that has impacted the wage rate. Wage rates in rural areas, real wages, are more or less stagnant for the last 4 or 5 years. In fact, our estimates based on Labor Bureau, when you work it out, actually show a marginally negative trend in real wages. So, and that is not just in agriculture, it's rural wages overall. And that's not a very healthy sign, because we have not been able to take a significant part of labor force out of agriculture. That is what should have been happening. That means the non-agriculture sector has not been able to grow fast enough to attract these people, despite all the high growth rates in the non-agriculture sector that you see. And that raises two questions. One, what is the nature of growth? If we are building big airports or major highways or ports, is the rural labor suitable? Do they have the skills to build this so-called new India? It requires upgradation of the skills, and that has not happened enough. So they are not able to move from a low productivity jobs in rural areas to high productivity jobs in urban areas. So that is one major thing. Then the second thing is that this growth itself, is lately being driven by all the public sector investments. And it is not as much on the demand of the people. The demand constraint is there, and it's you and me who can buy things because our incomes are still going up. But the masses of the rural areas, their real incomes are not going fast enough, and therefore the masses cannot demand many new products. So that is where the demand constraint comes. That's why private sector investment is still shy into that because of the lack of demand. It's the public sector that is driving in the hope that private sector will pick up momentum.
Dr. Gulati has very succinctly laid out before us the challenges facing Indian agriculture. In turn, these also will impact the Indian economy. At the same time, Indian agriculture is witnessing a makeover away from the food grain economy. And as always, public policy is playing catch up.
Our policies are still dominated by what we did in 60s, the 1960s, when we were literally living from ship to mouth. India has moved much, much farther away from that. And the demand for high value crops is increasing, not only just crops. In fact, the demand for livestock products, poultry is growing at 8 to 9% per annum for the last 15 years. Fishery is the next one, 7 to 8% per year. Uh, Dairy, 5 to 6% per year, the milk sector. Uh, Horticulture, another 4 to 5% per year. So that's the growth rate compared to cereals, which are less than 2% per year. Okay, so people, as their incomes go up, will not consume more and more of cereals. They will move on to these fruits, vegetables, and livestock products. And that is what is happening. So there is a natural process of diversification towards this. But as I said, most of those commodities are perishable in nature, and therefore they need an infrastructure support, how to protect them from the risk, nature's risk, uh, and cold storages and all that. The whole value chain has to be developed, and for that, private sector has to be invited. It's not the government that will do it, but the laws, the policy framework has to be conducive enough for private sector to come in and do business there. Uh, the entire cold storage chain has to be put on, like potatoes in Agra, which supply all down south to Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Kerala, they have to be put all on solar. Massive capital investment, but it can make you more efficient and cheaper also because your costs will come down. So all this transformation is taking place, but certain pockets, Punjab, Haryana in particular, which are hooked to MSP business of wheat and rice, they are the slowest one to change. That's one. So this, what I talked about in Punjab, the dragon fruit, that's the rarest of the rare phenomenon in Punjab. But these types of things in the south, you can find a number of players doing all these things.
So you mentioned the success of Gujarat in agriculture, but I recall from our previous conversation, you had also put the spotlight on Madhya Pradesh and
Yep.
over how over more than a decade completely transformed the face of Indian agriculture in Madhya Pradesh. So now the same person who managed the change there is moved to the agriculture ministry, which is Shivraj Chauhan. So, do you see that leadership change in the agriculture ministry answering to a degree these policy responses going forward?
Well, I would say it's a very well thought out choice of bringing Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan as the agriculture minister because he has delivered in Madhya Pradesh during his regime. If you look at, he had one of the longest regimes, only next to Gujarat under Mr. Narendra Modi's regime. Uh, the agriculture growth almost hovered around 6.8 to 7% or so in Madhya Pradesh over a longer period of Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan. So he has delivered. The question is, can he deliver at an all India level? Because all India is not just Gujarat or Madhya Pradesh alone. But definitely he understands that much better than perhaps anybody else in the cabinet, today. So we hope that he will be able to carry his zeal and zest and the knowledge that he has gained in Madhya Pradesh. Uh, if you have a compassion and if you understand the sector better, then it's not an impossible task. And even if you take from 3.5% to 5% agriculture growth of India, it will be much better for the rural sector. And that is a challenge that Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan will be facing. And let's hope that he delivers. That's what I would say, and good luck to him.
But I know we can't generalize, but can the principles or the architecture of the MP model of agriculture be adopted nationally?
One thing I should give you a little bit more on the MP model, so called. MP is the only state where the share of agriculture in the total state GDP has increased. It has gone up over these 15, 20 years of Shivraj Singh Chauhan's since 2005. It is almost at 40% today, right? Normally, and it used to be 20, 25%, so it has gone up. All over the world, the development uh, pathway is that the share of agriculture goes down in agriculture in overall GDP, but in Madhya Pradesh case, it has gone up. And we have been studying, very intensively what has delivered this and what has caused this. So first and foremost, his focus was on irrigation, water. If you can get water available to the farmer, then water is a music of prosperity in the agriculture sector. Now, on top of that, today we are facing climate change. So, the extreme weather events. How are you going to deliver on that front? Uh, we need better seeds, we need better farming practices to save our water and deal with this type of. We need protected cultivation to the extent possible. So I would be submitting, if I was sitting with him, my first submission would be that please develop the expenditure on agriculture R&D, how to tackle this climate change. This is a new paradigm on the table, and we need to get across this as a winner, not as a failure. And do we have heat resistant varieties of different crops? That's a massive investment that is needed to do. It doesn't come free just like this. Do we have better farming practices, especially on water? We may be talking of drips and others, but if we have policies which are giving free power and free water and free everything, then you are swimming against the current of the climate change. Then you will have to pay a price. I mean, even in Delhi or Bengaluru, we are facing water shortage. What are we talking? The highest income groups are, these cities are the ones, maybe tomorrow even Mumbai will be added in this list of water scarcity. But if we do not change our policies for the new environment, then nobody else is to blame us. So my submission would be many of the policies like fertilizer subsidy, at least 25% of the fertilizer subsidy doesn't go to the farmers. It is being used by other industries and other. So you can look at the input output table of the government of India itself. Now we created a system of Jandan accounts. Why don't we give directly there? And why do we subsidize urea so much compared to DAP and MOP, P and K, potassium and phosphatic fertilizers? So he is using very imbalanced doses of NPK. So he's not getting the full bang for the buck. So you are spending money, but you are not getting the results. So if you free up the prices, let the prices be determined by market forces, but compensate the farmer directly into his account. That entire fertilizer subsidy of 1,88,000 crores, you give it to the farmers' accounts. After looking at on per hectare basis, whether they have irrigation or not, how much is the gross cropped area. So you have to do some preparatory work. If Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan can do this, this will be a major structural change in the country for the good of agriculture and of the farmers.
You heard Dr. Gulati. He went over all the pain points of Indian agriculture and at the same time underlined the immense potential that lies within. But to tap this potential, you will need political boldness, an appetite for risk, and an ability to think out of the box. Can a politically diminished NDA bite the bullet and draw the contours of the next agrarian revolution? The upcoming budget is a terrific opportunity to do so. The question is, will NDA seize the moment? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to StratNews Global on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates. And please do share your thoughts, ideas and suggestions. I'm available on Twitter or what they call X at the rate of Capital Calculus. I'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, stay safe.